It is rubbish there. We've had 2 crap weekends. We're going to have a crap sprint. We're going to have a crap race. Throw the whole thing in the bin. Let's go to South Africa.
It's another asterisk on Max.
Oh, Matisse.
You're such a hater.
Every single title we get an asterisk. Every time.
Matisse.
Every time. When are you going to win this thing properly?
Hello and welcome to On Track GP. Joe and Matisse are joining me this morning. You guys are very smart.
We are.
Yeah,
We were just having a lot. We're recording quicker than I was anticipating, so I'm still laughing about the conversation. How are you, Abby?
I'm okay. I'm not bad. It's very cold.
It is nippy.
It's
Yeah.
awful out there. Horrendous.
Yeah, you got to make sure you wrap up warm.
Wish I was going somewhere warm soon. Anybody going anywhere warm soon?
North London.
Sunbed. Right, we today are talking about sprint races for 2024. We've got locations that have been given. Sprint will warm you up, won't it?
Yeah.
Warm the tyres up, yeah, for sure.
Warm the tyres up. Warm, make my blood boil. That's for
I
sure.
feel like we went from like this time last year talking about the sprints being like absolutely hate them to maybe like towards the back end of the season being like they're actually okay and we quite like them.
We had 1 or 2 that were pretty good. Ones that jump out. Brazil was pretty good.
Yep.
And Austria was good. But the sprints, I don't want to, jump too far into the conversation straight away. But the sprints, like Austria was a really good sprint because it rained. Not because the sprint was good or it suited the track. It was because it started raining halfway through. So you had some people ducking in and changing their tyres for the intermediates, and some people staying out on the soft tyres and slipping all over the place. So that made it interesting because there was a different factor. But a sprint on its own is just a short, less valued race.
Yeah.
I don't get it, really.
I mean, a lot of the drivers, especially someone like Max Verstappen, has been very open with the fact that he hates him. He absolutely hates him.
Me and Max agree on one thing.
Well, exactly. There you go. You had your Red Bull jacket on last week. I tend to agree. I don't hate them. I just think it's pretty pointless.
I think for me, what I don't like about the sprints, and even with the couple of entertaining races like you mentioned, is it takes away from the race, and on top of that, it feels like the qualifying is already meant to be unique enough as it is, but it also takes away from the qualifying. So it kind of just like just ruins the weekend as a whole in terms of everything just gets devalued for this one extra sprint race, which for me is, I've never liked it. And also,
like from a driver standpoint, and also from a team standpoint, that if you have a crash in that sprint race, then like your whole weekend can be finished.
Yeah.
Which I guess you could say the same for qualifying, but qualifying is there for a reason. I feel like the sprint is obviously it's an additional race, but that it's not really necessary. It's purely for entertainment purposes on Drive to Survive.
It's one of those things where you watch it and you think to yourself, most of the time the fastest cars are going to finish at the front, right? Whereas when there's a fastest lap, I feel like there's more not jeopardy, but there's more unpredictability about it, where if somebody doesn't come out in time and there's a red flag or a yellow flag, and there's a strategy to it, timing your pit stops and making sure that you come in at the right time. Whereas with the race, it's like you expect Max to win, you expect the guys with the quickest cars to get out in front, and if it gets to 10-15 laps, that's when maybe it might get interesting, but it's over by that point. So it ruins the race, it devalues the race, and for me, I just think it overcomplicates the sport. Anybody new coming into the sport trying to figure out the structure of a weekend, it just hampers it and just makes it more confusing for them.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned the structure of the weekend because the F1 Commission, they had a meeting last November. There was an overall support for an update to the current sprint format. At the minute, I mean, it seems to be free practice, qualifying, sprint shootout, sprint race. That's a lot.
Well, Saturday is its own thing, completely separate from the rest of the weekend. The weekend. The reason that they're also pushing it is because not everybody has a ticket for the whole weekend, and if you go on a Friday, as it stands on a non-sprint, you're just seeing 2 practice sessions. And I think Martin Brundle quite famously said the worst sprint race is always better than the best free practice 2 session. Yeah. So if you're there on a Friday, you get to see the qualifying for the race on the Sunday. So there is something, if you just have a Friday ticket, that's going to be more interesting.
Yeah.
But from a fan's perspective watching it, you have Friday, and then 48 hours later, you're like, wait, so wait, who qualified where on? Who finished in the sprint race? What was the sprint shootout? Where am I? Who's starting? I'm completely confused. Yeah. There's too many variables and things that have happened within the weekend. By the time the actual potentially 26-point race comes up, you don't know who's where.
Should there be an argument that, let's say that your sprint race should be combined with qualifying? That, you do that, and then I guess whoever gets to, Q3, that's your sprint.
Oh, so it's just you only have 10 cars in the sprint.
Well, yeah.
That's an interesting concept.
Again, firstly, it gives you more incentive if you want to be in the sprint to make sure that you definitely get to Q3. And also, then it will actually count for something for where you start on the grid.
I feel like then if you do that, then it's tough, because then the race, there's no chance of anybody in a slower car being in a good position, because they have to get to the sprint. Even though I do like it, because it puts it connects the dots a bit more, where it's not like Saturday's its own thing, like you said, where it's completely separate, and you do have like
there's just context to it a little bit.
You do have a clear path to Sunday, and it's less confusing. But honestly, I would honestly scrap it. But I do think the thing you mentioned about making Friday more valuable is important, obviously, to the overall branding and the tickets, and making sure that they make the whole thing a big event, and it's worth going to the Fridays. But because the practices are boring, let's be honest. I don't like the practice. No one likes the practice, but the practice is necessary.
The practice is necessary.
It's needed for the drivers.
For the track. I feel
and the quality is higher in the race when the practice has been done properly.
I feel like proper F1 fans, I feel like, understand that practice isn't meant to be entertaining. Yeah. I mean, practice is practice. I mean, it's just like going go-karting, and for the first couple of laps, you're just kind of sussing out the track type thing, like in a regular day-to-day world. But I think that to try and you can't really get rid of the practice, because the drivers need the practice. I mean, you don't need the sprint.
No,
you just don't.
The other one that comes up occasionally, well, there's multiple views on it, but that you would do the practice session, sprint qualifying, which everyone's in. So normal practice session on a Friday, sprint qualifying on a Friday, sprint race on a Saturday, and what happens in the sprint race is then actually the real qualifying for how they line up. So how they finish in the sprint is how they then line up on a Sunday.
That's kind of like what I was.
So you're taking away fastest laps.
Fastest laps is gone, and there's no points from the sprint. The sprint is the qualifying.
Yeah, so it's basically the same as that. I think that's got legs, because I think at least that is,
I really like,
I guess, more interesting and a better way to do it. But again, then like the sprint shootout. So we're taking sprint shootout as your qualifying session.
Sprint shootout is like qualifying part 1, and then the sprint is qualifying part 2. But you think
I feel like we could just get rid of that. We could just.
There you go. And the thing is, our best days last season was a season of Saturdays. Like the qualifying sessions were better than the races.
A lot.
You take the qualifying, like you think back to like. I mean, Monaco is always the example that's perfect to go to. The Saturday is phenomenal, and the Sunday people just get drunk because it's a parade. There's nothing exciting really in the race.
Puts it into the wall.
Yeah, Mick Schumacher will split the car in half or something. But the Saturdays last season were so good. So the idea of taking away qualifying is wrong. And you'd say you whispered it to yourself when I was talking. You were like, I love qualifying.
There's so many moments in qualifying where you're like, you're out in Q1. What?
Yeah.
Like Hamilton. Perez, these are big moments, and it gives hope to the rest of the field to say, all right, we can get into Q2, we can potentially start in the top 10, and then obviously, yes, the race, depending on your strategy, depending on your speed and your tyres, where will you finish, but it just gives you hope. I don't feel like throwing everyone into a sprint race gives them hope, because again, you're going on out and out pace over long periods, where a lot of these slower cars who's the one lap pace? Hulkenberg.
Yeah.
Right. 1 lap pace was throwing down serious places and positions, but over the course of a race, he couldn't really muster much. And I feel like you lose a lot more of those shocks and those surprises if you make a smaller race and then a bigger race. I mean, we've already got a race, so why do we need 2?
Well, that's a really good point. And Max has come out and said that a few times, that basically there's no shock factor of what's going to happen in a race on a Sunday, because they've done it on a Saturday when there's a sprint.
Unless the weather changes.
So another alternative would be...
Talk to the weather.
Let's
sort the weather out.
Rain
now. Snow.
Would be make them... give them a set of given circumstances where they have to either use the tyre that they're not going to use. So either put them all on a really cold, hard tyre or something like that, and then they're not going to use that in the race, and then we know that Sunday's going to be different. Or, and this is the one that I really want them to do, is bring back the super soft tyre, the purple super soft tyre, which would, let's say in Austria, I don't know, the sprint was 21 laps.
Yep.
The super soft tyre is going to be completely burnt out by 17 laps, and it then forces people to do a stop. And then you have a different thing. Okay, when do we stop? Do we stop early, or do we actually just go right? But our super soft tyres aren't shredding as much as we thought because we're off the brakes a little bit, and we think we can go long, and then you have overtaking. You need something different that's not just a shorter version of the Sunday race.
Is there an argument for having a back to front grid?
I love that.
I think I've said that before too.
Yeah.
Stealing it.
Yeah.
Do you know what? It's actually been brought up so many times about having a back to front grid, because I think that if you did it in the sprint race, like you said, over 21 laps, that is really interesting.
I'd even bring it down to 15 laps then.
Make it super small.
Super small, super condensed, back to front.
Think about how exciting that would be, and also for viewership. I mean, hello.
Can you get your car, your fastest car, to the front before the finish line?
Yeah. And particularly again, if there's
that would be so good.
It would be brilliant, and it would force the drivers that are obviously rookies or in smaller, slower cars, smaller teams, slower cars would let's defend. You've got a lead to defend. You've been given
a big art of defending.
Yeah, you've been given an advantage. Obviously, they're trying to even out the playing field with the cost cap and all these things, but we know that's going to take a certain amount of time to really do that. So there's other parts of F1 where they say, okay, you've got more time in the wind tunnel. They do give advantages too. So why can they not do that there? I would watch then. I would definitely watch if that was the case.
FIA, we've just given you an idea. Yeah. Copyright.
And there's no need. There's no need then. You can still have the practice sessions that they need to get ready for the race, because if you're doing reverse championship grid order, there's no need for the sprint shootout. So you can easily still
reverse championship. Don't do the shootout. No one wants to see that.
No, you don't need to. Because I think if you did the sprint shootout and then reversed it, people would be trying to do the slowest lap.
People would be confused.
People would be doing like a 3-minute lap round.
I don't need to see SQ1 or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just
sprint
SQ
what? Sprint shootout.
Sprint qualifying.
It's just whatever it is. I don't need to see it. It's enough. That there is perfect.
The Sporting Advisory Committee, they are currently working on potential changes. Any changes are going to be announced ahead of the F1's Commission's first meeting this year. So I guess that's going to come soon because we're already in mid-Jan, so not too long to go. PlanetF1.com also understands there are 2 proposals that have been tabled, and there's a final decision that will be made probably later this month as well. So this is one proposal. It's qualifying will basically revert to a Friday afternoon. Changes to park firm rules are also expected to be made as well. What do you kind of think about that?
Well, the park firm conditions thing is really interesting, because if they're changing the layout of the weekend, as it stands currently, under park firm condition rules, they're not allowed to basically make any changes to their car from when they go out to qualify on the Saturday. But if they're doing a sprint, or they're doing a sprint shootout, or the conditions will have to change. So they'll have to. That's quite a big overhaul to change the park firm conditions just to have the sprint. Exactly. So there's a lot of moving parts of how you physically make this work. And it feels like they're leaving it a bit late, because the season's about to start. We're about to see liveries. We're not far from starting.
It's a bit mad that they are doing this with probably 6 weeks out. You would have thought that this would have been something they would have done in November.
Mm-hmm. And we probably won't know until the first sprint weekend.
Yeah.
I look forward to it.
Yeah, big time.
What are your guys' kind of thoughts on sprint races being half an hour long? 100 kilometres.
Well, you want them short.
If we're going to reverse the grid, because otherwise, if you reverse the grid and make it longer, they're going to catch them, and it's going to ruin the potential drama, spectacle, unpredictability of it, because we know what Max is capable of from the back of the grid in that Red Bull. But yeah, because I'm not a fan of them, I don't want to see them too long. No, I think the longer they become, the more they take away from the race, and the more they become like the race. Yeah. So they have to be short.
What about the point scoring system? Because you only get points from 1 to 8 for where you finish in the sprint. So if I was I don't know, let's say I'm a Haas, I'm thinking I'm really not that bothered about it, because I might come out with 1 point. Is it going to make so much of a difference to the back of the grid? Not really.
This is why you have to reverse it, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, a single point, it can make a bit of difference. But if if I've qualified well in a Haas on a Friday, I'm so I'm so uninterested in the sprint. If I if I managed to qualify 7th or something like Hülkenberg did a few times, I couldn't care less about the sprint. Just save the car, save the engine. Don't waste a decent set of tyres. I'm just going to focus on getting that 1 or 2 points when it comes to the race at the end, because I'm probably in the sprint. I'm going to qualify 15th. I'm not going to go up 7 or 8 places to nick 1 point in the sprint. Forget it.
Also, it's quite weird that it's just places 1 to 8. Like if you're having the whole grid partake in it,
why not 1 to 10?
Why not 1 to 10? Or
I don't actually know. Oh, is it because the length of the sprint is a third?
Yeah, maybe.
A third of the race, and so the points are about a third.
So this would make more sense than if we did what we said at the start of the pod, which was just having people who qualify from Q3 do it.
Yeah.
This would make more sense then.
But then I feel like the gap between the top cars and the back of the grid in the overall standards would then widen massively, and we would see a massive split in the championship in terms of points. I mean, we do see that.
Very passionate about this.
Putting my foot down. But you do sometimes see a Haas get into, I don't know, like Q3. Or a Williams get into Q3. You do. It's not like they're out in Q2. The amount of times we've seen Checo go out in Q2 or Lewis or someone like that, or
it certainly makes the stakes
or
higher,
a McLaren or an Aston. So like it's not like they never make it to Q3.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know. I feel like for it to be that's so the way I see that is that's just another Q3. Like we've had Q3 and now we've got another Q3, but it's different because it's a race and it's not fastest lap and it's just there's points. Do you know what I mean? I feel like sprint races needs. I think the back to front is the best solution to make it something completely different, interesting, unpredictable, and bring in new fans. If you tell new fans we put the slowest cars at the front,
the Americans.
What other sport are doing that? Like which other sport does that? Do you know what I mean? So that's something to actually bring people in. And I don't know if the purists would like it or the traditionalists, but
it makes it fairer.
I don't know. I don't know if you get them on board with it, but I'd be more inclined.
Charles Leclerc, I can't remember if it's last season or the season before, came out and said that he really likes the concept of a single lap shootout. So not even a qualifying,
just one
but
lap.
you get one flying lap, and that is what you do quite often if you play the F1 game, because you can't be bothered to go through the whole process of qualifying. You just do one lap, and you're chasing the ghost of Max Verstappen, like, please let me catch up. But maybe that would be a better way of defining your layout for the sprint.
Just a one lap
You
race.
get one lap, bang, everyone goes. They get you to one warm-up lap, and then you get your flying lap, and wherever the times end up, because there's so much pressure of that, because the thing with qualifying is you get generally at least 2 or 3 quick goes per qualifying thing to get put down a decent time.
Yeah.
Generally they tend to get quicker because the car has less fuel and the tyres are warmer and that sort of thing. But one go would buy into the idea of this sprint is like a really intense, quick moment. And you've got to be there. You've got to attack it.
Yeah.
So maybe that would be better than the sprint shootout, which are just again slightly shorter qualifying sessions. You think, well, we've already seen this yesterday on the Friday.
That's not a bad shout.
I'd love and hey, if it's good enough for Charles Leclerc, it's good enough for me.
Absolutely, it is. Right, let's kind of have a look at the sprint locations.
You said that's because he qualifies well.
yeah, correct.
Got a new hat, today, new ideas. Sprint locations 2024. So China, Miami, Austria, Austin, Brazil and Qatar. China, this is the first time we're going to see China on the calendar since 2019. It is the first sprint race of the season as well, which I guess is quite exciting. Do you like the circuit in China?
I love it. It's got that really cool long back straight, and it's got that really cool like almost donut in the middle of it. I forget which way around. I think you go, it's a right hand or a left hand, but it's only going to be one of the two. But that big sort of circular thing in the middle, it's a risk. Doing a sprint in China. We haven't been there in the new cars.
Well, exactly that.
I was just about to say that. I was like, out of all the tracks to pick, you pick one that hasn't been on the calendar for 4 years?
They've chosen something because they're hoping it's going to crash. Like something big's going to happen. I mean, loads of these drivers, haven't actually even ever raced there.
Raced there, yeah.
So it's quite a long time to, 4 years to not be able to think about all the drivers that come through.
Maybe in his junior career or in F2 or whatever. I don't know.
So China, that's one. Miami.
Throw it in the bin.
This is going to be the second sprint weekend.
We've had I knew he was going to have that reaction.
I was waiting for it. Very average weekends, didn't we, in Miami?
It's a car park. It's not a racetrack.
They're trying to obviously spice up the weekend.
Talk about desperate.
Yeah, well, it is desperation, isn't it?
It's rubbish. It is rubbish there. We've had 2 crap weekends. We're going to have a crap sprint. We're going to have a crap race. Throw the whole thing in the bin. Let's go to South Africa. It's rubbish.
Facts.
It is rubbish there. I don't think nobody can fight that Miami is a good place to have a Formula One race.
No, I agree.
It's not.
But it's American.
And
they want the American.
Correct. But okay, and to be fair, I enjoyed Vegas. I mean, we already have 2 there. Vegas was great because the race ended up being really good and the drama around it was fun. Austin has always been, it is actually a good racetrack, thankfully. Miami has none of that. It's just a desperate ploy to put more stuff into America. No, let's go somewhere else where there's like a historic, brilliant. Let's go back to Germany. Let's go to South Africa, wherever we go. But my God, we do not need to be doing a sprint race in Miami. I hate it.
Okay, I mean, you feel strongly. Yeah.
Sorry, anyone else?
No, you've said everything that I wanted to say.
You've left nothing on the table.
You've left nothing on the table. I've been pushing South Africa ever since I was on here, so I really want that Grand Prix to happen.
It would be amazing to go to South Africa for that. Austria, that takes on the 3rd sprint race. They had a good race, didn't they, in 2023? The drivers really battled. We mentioned kind of like the wet to dry conditions.
Yeah.
That was quite a good one.
That and Belgium, I feel like are options just because of the weather. But, you know,
again, you want changeable conditions.
Yeah, if you're gonna do sprints, the weather's got to play a part. I think if the weather's guaranteed to be anything like heat and just warm and dry, then I think it's not really worth it because it's just going to be the same as the race. Whereas this track, this track.
The thing is, we can't bank on the weather.
No, but this is at least giving us hope.
Yeah, it's a little bit of hope. European weather.
It's so good. Austria was probably my favourite sprint maybe ever. I think
ever.
I loved it.
To be fair, the bar is kind of
very low.
Hulkenberg cutting through the pack on intermediate tyres while everyone else is slipping around. It was great.
Gorgeous. Loved it. Right, after Austria, there is a 4-month break until Austin. Again, this is a circuit that can kind of either deliver the goods or not. It can either be a very boring race or exciting. It has the potential to be a good sprint weekend.
Do you know what it is with me? I don't think there should be more than one sprint in America. I just think there should just be one. Just make it special. Give that track the light, which is what they're doing with Miami. Miami needs that push. I think Austin's already a classic. Everybody loves Austin. So I think for me, I would actually scrap that just to keep Miami, just to give Miami some hope.
I get rid of Austin.
There's no need
but they're
to do a
quite
sprint
far
there.
apart. They're quite far apart. So Miami's obviously like relatively close to the start of the season, and Austin is middle to back.
Daniel Ricciardo will win that one on a horse. The Austin sprint.
I like it. Yeah. I like the idea.
Gallop his way to victory.
Let's put a belt on it. Put a belt on it right now. Brazil would be the 5th. Interlagos is always, a good track. We love that. We love that track.
That will be good.
The final one will be in Qatar. Of course, Oscar Piastri took the win there for McLaren last season. Sergio Perez, he got into that little accident with Nico Hulkenberg and Esteban Ocon. Obviously, Max got the title in that one as well.
This is the thing about that mental sprint was that Oscar won his first race.
Which was great.
Max won the championship, and it all happened under not a race, under a sprint. That's kind of weird. It all felt a bit like, who are we celebrating? When's and we have another race tomorrow. Like,
wrong. It was wrong.
It was weird.
Simon went on the Saturday.
Weird.
It's another asterisk on Max.
Matisse.
You're such a hater.
Every single title we get an asterisk. Every time.
Matisse.
Every time. When are you going to win this thing properly?
You are.
When are you going to win this properly?
When are you going to show some
grace and decorum?
Yeah. Shameless behaviour. I want to ask you all, because obviously there are six rounds, 6 circuits, but if you could pick your 6 circuits for a sprint, I'm
gonna get up.
I do not have
24 races.
You can get it
I
up.
do not want 6 sprints.
You've got to pick 6.
Okay, so I'll give you Belgium, Austria, Interlagos.
Whoa, you're going
Belgium,
quick. I haven't even got a
Interlagos.
calendar up yet. You're doing
3.
great.
And that's where the problem is. 3 more.
3 more. Monza.
No, not for me. I'll give it to Miami because Miami needs it.
Oh,
I know.
What about anyone for a Spanish sprint?
Well, we're going to Madrid now. We're not even going to Barcelona anymore. How did that happen? They changed the track last year, and now they're going, we're not going to race there anymore. So that's annoyed me. Spain's annoyed me. Anyone else want to annoy me? China, I would do. I like China.
Okay.
I'm with you
owe
on
me 3.
Spa. Definitely with you on Spa.
Yeah.
That's a great shout.
I love Spa regardless. They could do anything to Spa and I still watch.
Interlagos is also a great shout.
Yeah.
Definitely would go there. I think.
Can I say South Africa because it's not on the grid?
You can't. It's not one that we're covering. But I mean, no, you can actually because it is a former track.
If they said the only way you're getting South Africa is with a sprint, then bring it on. Bring
Abu Dhabi, just to add a bit more potential for end of season drama.
It's
there's a
done.
few extra, not necessarily,
like
not
no,
21.
Okay, right, not
but could things not get
sorry.
decided in the sprint and make the race meaningless?
That's a very good point.
So I wouldn't do it there.
That's a very good point.
Maybe Australia.
It could bring it back. Yeah, Australia early on.
Yeah, just get it out of the way.
Australia would be good one.
Just get it out of the way. Bahrain, first race, just get it. No.
I think Monza's good.
They got to do testing in Bahrain.
Monza's good enough on its own, but maybe Emilia Romagna, the other Italian one.
Yeah.
That might be quite
fun
for a little sprint.
I really did push a lot out there already.
Yeah, you've named about 17 of the 20.
For someone that hates sprints, I've definitely given enough races.
Vegas sprint.
I was thinking about this.
No, for me, no.
I think it was so dramatic already last year that
ruined it.
I don't want to. Yeah, I don't want to.
It was already such a risk, with it, because
Okay.
we didn't know if it was gonna be good or not, and there was a lot of performance.
Well, hold on. If they had done a sprint there, when that manhole cover came up on a Friday, that would have been during the qualifying for the Sunday. They wouldn't have been able to qualify.
To be fair, it would have been interesting though.
Where would you go? Would you have any jump out?
I think probably Spa would have been top for me. I probably would have said Barcelona as well.
Shame we're not going.
About Mexico.
Oh, I find it quite boring there.
I know.
I just like the stand.
Maybe
that needs it though. Maybe that's a good point.
I don't mind Mexico.
Maybe that's the fans are nuts there for Checo.
They'd go nuts. Well, think about what happened to Checo last year.
That was sad.
That was very sad.
That was very
sad.
But
a sprint, I think that could spice it up a little
that's
bit.
Probably a good. That's because we're not gonna. I can't imagine that we'll leave Mexico anytime soon. But that's a really good shout. Mexico's a very good shout.
My worst track is Singapore.
Well, that's because it's the only one you didn't win last year.
I just don't even like the track.
No, you can't say you don't like the Sparks.
No, but I just don't like.
I love the Sparks.
I don't like the track. I don't like the track. I don't like how it's just like that. Like I just don't like it. Like it's a weird track.
They're all like that.
No, you know what I mean. I'm just not into the track.
You don't like it because you don't win there.
I'm just not into it.
Why?
They'll win this
year. You didn't win.
I found it a boring race. I didn't like it.
You wasn't at the front.
Yeah, don't like it when my team's not first.
Imagine being me and Matisse.
She doesn't understand. Actually, not to be fair, I've seen a lot of success.
Not since 2008 for me. God,
that's it.
I can't relate. We took our time.
You had. Do you know what I mean? You're in retirement.
Dominance, yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I'm salty about it, but we had our time. To be fair, we dominated.
I'm
starving.
You are starving.
I'm literally starving.
I'm not that full though. I'm ready to go again.
No, you're full. You said it.
No.
You're full, but you're saying bring on the cheese board.
Bring on the cheese board. Yeah. I'm ready for dessert.
Oh.
I'm ready for dessert. Thank you very much, guys. Nice to see you both.
Yes, pleasure.
Nice to see you both. Let us know what you think in the comments. Where would you pick to have your sprint weekend? If you could, do you agree with ours? Will it be Monza? Will it be Spa? Will it be Vegas, China, or would you scrap it all together? Let us know your thoughts in the comment. Also, please remember to like and subscribe. This has been On Track GP, and we will see you very soon.